We are where Dhritarashtra and Gandhari left Hastinapur on the instructions of Vidura. And so Yudhishthira is grief stricken that his uncles have gone away. So Narada comes and instructs Yudhishthira on why one ought not to grieve, because things happen as they are meant to, and people come and part as destined. So he says that as playthings are brought together and separated by the will of the player, so do coming together and parting of human beings depend on the will of God. So everyone is simply an expression of the divine energy, and the divine energy plays just as a child plays with toys. There are many aspects of the energy, they are all coming and going all the time. And so, if we recognize that everything, everyone, everywhere is simply an expression of the one divine energy, then there is nothing to grieve, nothing to get excited either. So he says, therefore, shake off the uneasiness of mind caused by ignorance as to how people would fare without you. So this is the other important point, is that everyone, we all think somehow that we are indispensable, and yet nobody is indispensable because things move on. So here Yudhishthira is worrying about the old uncles, they are infirm and how they will fare. But Narada says that stop worrying about how they would fare, because everyone is taken care ultimately by the divine. It is not we who are doing it. Even, for instance, parents, when they are taking care of the children, they think they are indispensable and get attached. And then we find that the children are perfectly fine when we go away. So, or they move on as well. In every instance, wherever we think we are indispensable, it is shown that nobody is indispensable. The right person, the right event, the right circumstances emerge, and it has its own way of taking care of things, taking care of people. So therefore nobody is indispensable. He says the body is made of 5 elements and subject to the control of time, fate, and the 3 modes of nature. Therefore, in reality, everybody is made of the same elements, controlled by the same time, destiny, and made of the same 3 gunas. And all beings live off of other beings. It's energy feeding on energy. Therefore, he says, recognize that, this is a very beautiful verse. He says, recognize that all this is the one self-effulgent supreme being, the self of all embodied souls. It is he who appears as the subject and the object. Perceive him as manifested in diverse forms through Maya. It's a very powerful, beautiful verse that summarizes the entire Bhagavatam. He says, Tadidam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atma Atmanam Swadrik Antaro Anantaro Bhati Pashya Tam Mayayo Rudha. So this is the essence of many Upanishadic verses as well. He says, Tadidam Bhagavan. Everything here is Bhagavan. Atma Atmanam Swadrit. He says he is the self-effulgent Lord, the self of all embodied beings. So when we take our self to be the separative me, the body or the mind or any identity associated with it, we are caught in this idea of an individual being. And that apparent individuality is at the root of all suffering, illusion, separation, grief, everything. When we recognize that apparent individualness, the apparent separation is false, there is no persistent individual self at all. All there is only that which is unknowable, who is the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, and therefore He alone is the self of all. The true self, the true essence of the whole universe is the one Supreme Being alone, and therefore everything here is none other than Him. And further, he says very nicely, therefore He is the subject and the object. It is He who appears as the subject and the object. Antaro anantaro bhati, he says. Antaro means within, anantaro means without, that is outside. So when we have any interaction, there is always the subject-object duality. So this is why we think that we are the subject and the object is the other. So the core delusion we have is we feel like there is some entity, some center, some notion called me sitting within the body, sitting within the brain, and controlling all the activities of the brain and experiencing all the activities of the body and mind. So we think I am experiencing. And this notion that I am doing and I am experiencing is the core delusion, because there is no separate subject within the body. There is only the body and the brain functioning through the divine intelligence. And similarly, the object we see outside, which can be either an inanimate object or another animate being. So if I'm talking to someone, let's say, or if I am interacting with another person, we again similarly imagine that there is an entity separately sitting within the other person's body and we are interacting with that person. And because of this false idea that the subject is a separate me, the object is a separate me, that is a separate you or he or she or it, we have division, and therefore we have all kinds of suffering that comes due to comparison, due to greed, due to superiority, inferiority, all of that. But here what Narada beautifully points out is both the subject and the object is Bhagavan. It is He alone who shines as the apparent me within the body, here and there. So the me that rises is a provisional me called ahankara, ego, which is also the energy of the same Supreme Being, which is constantly changing. So there is no persistent me within any of us in reality. If we inquire, asking who am I, we find out that there is no persistent me at all. The apparent me is constantly changing, and the same is then true with everyone. And that which underlies this apparent me is the unknowable divine energy, which is the real I. And therefore, that is the true self of all of us. That is why in Gita, Krishna says, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. He says, I am alone the enjoyer of all activities. So, Krishna speaks as the Supreme Being and reveals that the true doer and the true enjoyer of all activities is Bhagavan Himself. And therefore, if we recognize this, that all there is He alone, and He alone shines as me, shines as the other, He says, Antaro Anantaro Bhati. Bhati means that which shines. That is why the word Bhaskar means the sun. The one who shines is Bhati. The one who shines, therefore, as me, as the other, the observer and the observed is Bhagavan. That is why it is also said the observer is the observed. The division between the observer and the observed is what causes delusion. If we recognize that the observer is the observed, they are both the one essence, then that is freedom from all ignorance. So this is what Narada beautifully instructs by summarizing the entire Vedanta in one verse.